At what point you have to sort of spirited quarterback competition to having a starter, giving them the majority of the reps, and getting them prepared for Miami and to be the starter throughout the rest of the year?
Yeah, I don't have a timetable on that, Chris. So can't tell you.
I mean, do you feel like, I know you said you don't have a timetable, but do you feel like that's something that's coming up soon here as we get to the end of training camp? You'll approach that or make that decision at the end of training camp here?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Not sure exactly how that'll go.
All right, Big Mike. Cam Newton returned to Patriots practice today. Assumed his position as QB1. Took the starters reps. And based on the reporting out of Foxborough, performed better than Mac Jones did today. Mac Jones even acknowledged that the Giants defense made a few adjustments with their safeties. It made life a little more difficult for the rookie today. Your thoughts, right to you, our roving Patriots correspondent who has the pulse of this franchise.
Well, it's funny that you say that. It's funny that you say I have the pulse of this franchise because that's really where I want to start, Mike. There's a guy that we both have covered. Great mug and great shirt, by the way. Great mug, great shirt. There's a guy that we both covered and you used to work with, a guy by the name of Teddy Bruschi. So when Teddy Bruschi was on TV once, he made a joke that really wasn't, there's truth in all jokes, right? But he made a joke to some people who were working with him, former football players, and he was explaining the psychology of Bill Belichick. And at one point he said, fellas, I am Bill Belichick. And what he was trying to say is, look, I got it. I can tell you you give me a situation, you give me a scenario, and it's like one of those games. You freeze it right there before the person says something, and then you go to somebody else and you say, okay, are they going to say A, B, or C, or none of the above? And Teddy Bruschi and others who have been around Bill Belichick would score an A or an A plus on that. Now, I wasn't like the players, but I used to be pretty good on Bill Belichick's psychology. What I'm trying to tell you is I don't know him anymore. I don't know him.
I don't know that
I just don't know him.
I don't.
I don't know this guy because this is a guy, one of the things Bill Belichick, I'll just give you an example. A lot of Patriot haters, rightfully so, throughout the United States of America and internationally. A lot of Patriot haters for their success and for their trifling behavior over the years and some of the scandals. So people just aren't down with the Patriots, and I'm not here to argue that. But I remember with one of the scandals, as soon as it came out, as soon as there was something about Deflategate and tampering with the footballs, I know you may have heard something about that. I immediately thought, no, well, Belichick didn't have anything to do with that because I know how he loves to mess with people, particularly the quarterbacks when it comes to the football. How if the quarterbacks say, I want the football at a certain level, he'll go the opposite. He's a troll when it comes to comfort level for his football players because his whole point is it's never going to be the way you want it to be, and I'm going to try to come up with some extreme scenario to make you uncomfortable that'll make you better. So I used to know that with Belichick. But this is a guy, Mike, who never made excuses for people. But that's all he does now for Cam Newton. He is Cam Newton's official enabler / excuse maker. That's all he does. Give him an opportunity, lob up a question for Cam Newton, and you'll get an excuse out of Bill Belichick. Cam Newton had COVID. Cam Newton didn't know the offense that well last year. When Cam Newton threw for like 100-something yards in a game, he'd say, well, he threw for 200 or 300 last week. Where were you then? Or he'll say, hey, there's more to football than the stats. And on and on. And so even when it's obvious right now that Cam Newton is not the best quarterback on the Patriots, Bill Belichick and his stubbornness.
To whom? Oh, my God. Oh, goodness gracious. Let me duck from this glass house and the bricks coming out of them. Wait a minute. Hold on, man. Hold on. We brothers, we keep it a buck with each other. You said you don't recognize Bill Belichick. I don't recognize the dude on my screen right now. Because, Michael, quite candidly, it feels like every time there's an opportunity for you to bash Cam Newton or talk about how Cam Newton is washed up, how Cam Newton is done, and remind us that he threw 8 touchdown passes last year,
I didn't say it. You brought it up.
Like, you said.
You brought it up. Is it bashing? So are you the 8 touchdown passes? But it's a great set. It's a great set. Let me ask you this: is it bashing when it's true? When you speak what's true, are you bashing that person? Like, okay, am I bashing the Baltimore Orioles? I know we're talking about. If I'm bashing the Baltimore Orioles when I say, man, y'all lost 19 games in a row, why are you bashing us? You did it. Like, what? Am I not supposed to mention it?
That's not the same ballpark. It's not the same league. It's not the same sport. Okay?
It truly is not the same sport. It literally is not the same sport.
Exactly. Okay. That was if ever there were a perfect time to use that quote, it was there. No, that's not the same thing, Michael, because that's objectively true. When you said, is it true to bash somebody, is it bashing somebody if it's true, excuse me, whose truth? Because what I keep telling you is that, yes, Cam Newton was bad last year after he caught COVID. Yes, he only signed for $3.5 million. Yes, they drafted a quarterback in the first round in Bill Belichick's coaching career, for the first time in Bill Belichick's coaching career, okay? Yes, there is something to be said for playing the guy with upside if they're even. But, Michael, you said it's obvious. You just said moments ago, it's obvious that Mac Jones is the best quarterback on the Patriots. Obvious to whom? And that's not to say, Michael, that's not to say that Bill Belichick and by extension Josh McDaniels
clearly
can't
not
be
to the
wrong
guy
in their evaluation.
Clearly,
that's not to say that they can't be wrong in their evaluation.
Let me just tell you this. Okay, now you asked me before what my opinion was and what I know. Okay, bruh.
Mm-hmm.
Leave Josh McDaniels out of it. That's all I'm going to tell you.
Sure.
Leave Josh McDaniels out of this and put it on Belichick.
Okay, maybe he prefers Mac Jones.
You know what I'm saying.
Maybe he prefers Mac Jones.
Okay.
But, hey, not to throw shade at anybody necessarily, not to get anybody get caught in the crossfire, but Josh McDaniels ain't infallible either. Okay, just so
right.
None of them know everything.
Hey,
none of them know everything, and we know less.
No,
and we know less.
You got and I'm not arguing any of that. 100%. 100% with you.
But all I'm saying to you is that you may believe that Mac Jones is better, but neither you nor I are at training camp, and this is not me falling back on the fact. I'm not, Mike. Please, before you even just so there's no misunderstanding. Okay, that's my theme today.
No, I'm
I'm trying to minimize all possible misunderstandings today.
I'm good.
Like this is.
I am peace and calm.
You didn't play the game.
No, everything in the spirit of your shirt. Everything is Irie, baby. I mean, like it's good. I'm with you. I understand it. Go ahead.
Yes. This is not like you didn't play, so you don't know what you're talking about, and they get paid to do this, so they don't. No, that's not what this is. I'm simply saying that I think back to some Charles Robinson from Yahoo joins us quite frequently. We appreciate his time and him emptying his notebook, and he says a lot of insightful things. My favorite from this week's appearance was when he talked about Trevor Lawrence, and it's so simple, so obvious, and yet so profound nonetheless that a scout or executive, one of his league sources was telling him, some of the incompletions that Trevor Lawrence is throwing show you just how advanced he is. So you'll see an incompletion and it won't be a good thing, but then you'll see a completion and be like, well, that was good. And so, you're not quite sure what you're looking at. And you and I both know that. We've been around football long enough to know that game management and the quarterback position is a lot about the decisions that you make or the mistakes that you avoid, or all incompletions and interceptions aren't on you. You and I both know that. So I'm not telling you anything you don't know.
Yeah.
But I hearken back to that commentary about Trevor Lawrence to go back to Mac Jones, who lit the world on fire in practice yesterday, that it's preseason, it's practice, and consistency and maturity. Just like he said, Mac Jones said today, I was able to observe Cam Newton doing something with the Mike linebacker that he enlightened me on afterward. So Mac Jones still has a ways to go. So he can have all the great practices and preseason performances that he wants. But with all due respect to all of our football acumen, Michael, I think I'm pretty good on football. Like, we don't know what we're looking at all the time, and we certainly don't know what Belichick is looking at. So that's all that's the only ground I've been holding firm on, Michael, in this. It's not that Mac Jones. If Mac Jones is a starter, I will tip my cap to you, tip it to him, and I think he'll do very well. Again, my most likely to succeed superlative for this quarterback class. But I don't think it's Belichick as being an apologist. That part, man, that was a hell of a. You came in hot with that one. That Belichick is a Cam apologist.
No, it's not even hot.
I don't think he's trying to force Cam into the starting lineup. Because what would his rationale be for that?
Well, no, this is just, and it's not even necessarily hot. It's been building. I've just noticed this from Belichick. This is not over the last couple of weeks or not even over the summer. This is Belichick. Belichick really likes Cam. I mean, really likes him personally. Yes. And he has talked about Cam and treated Cam in ways that you don't.
Which how many people would have said that?
Hear him.
How many people would have predicted that?
Nobody. That's
2 years ago.
I love that.
2 years
and
ago.
I love that part. I thought about
think about
the
Cam
fact
Newton,
that you
or
just
they
said
thought
that.
about Cam Newton.
Get out of my head. Get out of my head. I had that thought this morning. I said, wow, nobody saw that this was not predicted. This was not in the script of Belichick and Cam Newton and just really vibing. Where Cam Newton would say after the season, and back to that Brandon Marshall podcast, they asked him, hey, what do you think of Belichick? He said, I think he's dope. Quote, he's like, dope. Like, really? And he's like, he's underrated. Like, people don't understand how dope Bill Belichick is. Who would think Cam Newton would say that about Bill? Who would think Bill would say that about Cam? But that's beside the point. They like each other, and sometimes I think his personal affinity for Cam, it kind of spills over into the media. I've observed this over the last couple of years. Into the media. All right, but the last thing, and then we could move on. So maybe I'm even misunderstanding you. Into the media and into what he says, but what about his actions? What about his evaluations? Do you think that his personal affinity for Cam Newton is spilling over into his evaluation and decision making? Yeah, it's close. I'll say this about Bill. This is where Bill Belichick has not changed, and this is instructive for all of us who all have this. We all have. I'm guaranteed everybody's got this thread in them. Some people have 25 threads. Some people have one, but we all got it. Is the right thing to do, right? You've been thinking about something, but you don't like when people tell you about it. Like, I'll do it. I'll do it. I just don't want you to tell me to do it, especially if I don't like you. Don't tell me what to do. Hey, dog, don't tell me what to do. Don't tell me what to do.
100%.
Oh, what? Oh, what? No. And then you don't do it.
100%.
And so there's been a lot of that in the New England media.
That's very childish, but we did that as children. Remember, as children?
Hello, he can't.
I'm going to clean up my room when I feel like cleaning up my room. I was already going to do that, but now that you told me to do that, this is my room. In your house, but it's my room. Or you start walking real slow. You start walking, you go do it, but you start walking a little slowly. You don't have the urgency that the person wants you to have. Bill Belichick does not like the media, and it's like everybody has been using platforms to kind of shout out. Cam Newton, now I'll tell you this, and this is where I kind of feel for him, and I'm going to have to just rethink it. Cam Newton doesn't have a guy. There is not a guy, and I use that term broadly, umbrella term. There's not a person, more accurately. He doesn't have a Peter
person
King.
In the media who's a Cam
Adam
Newton.
Schefter.
No, not a single one.
Yeah.
Doesn't have an advocate.
You don't have an advocate
in the New England media.
Yeah.
Not a single one.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have that. Mm-hmm. Cam's very sensitive. And then Bill is media sensitive, but he won't show it. He's very aware. Like, don't ever think that Bill Belichick is not aware of what's being said about him and his team in the media. Extremely aware. So everybody's shouting, hey, start Mac. Cam's washed up. Cam's not the guy. You got to move on. And he ain't buying it. He's more defiant because I think he hears the choir.
Yeah. I appreciate what you're trying to do there. I don't think it's that complicated.
You respectfully disagree. You disagree.
Yeah, well, not even respectfully.
All right.
No,
That's
but seriously, I'm kidding. No, but seriously,
That's
honestly,
okay.
I think for both of us, because we're very much in a bubble here. You and I are very much in I know for me, I'm in my bubble with you. Okay, like you got New England Sports Tonight, and I'm just thinking about our conversation when I say this. I think there is very much confirmation bias, if I'm using that properly, on both our parts.
Maybe.
When it comes to Cam Newton. Because you talked about being stubborn yesterday, which I appreciated it. Because I relate. So remember, again, last year, I just knew Cam Newton was going to light it up going into last year.
Game one.
I was one of the
Game one
main
was
people
great.
talking about how did the rest of the league let Bill Belichick end up with Cam Newton, right? Then he got off to a strong start, got COVID, and then when it kind of seemed like they were finding their way last season, I think we had a bet. Did you have what was the bet? That they would win 8 games? I don't remember what the bet was. You won the bet.
They will not have
But
a winning. They wouldn't have a winning record. I said they will not have a winning.
You won
record.
the bet, obviously. Right, you obviously won the bet. So
What did I win? Because I don't remember getting a thing from you. You haven't given me a thing. You haven't given me a ride from the airport. You haven't given me $1. You haven't given me like a candy bar. Like, what have you given me?
I give you 2 hours. I give you 2 hours a day, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 Eastern. That's what you get from me. Okay.
You ain't giving me that. You're giving Peacock
actually
that.
more than that. Okay. But so going into this season, as high as I was on Mac Jones coming out of Alabama, and I really do want to get to one more topic before we go to break, so I'm trying to make this quick.
All right.
As high as I was on Mac Jones coming out of Alabama, as high as we all were and are on Mac Jones' fit in New England, I know I'd be lying if I didn't say part of me is already like subconsciously, and now I'm bringing it to my conscious level, subconsciously pulling for Cam Newton and not just wanting to be right, but not wanting to see him go out like that. Meanwhile, if you don't know any stat, you know that he threw 8 touchdown passes last year. And he did not impress you last year.
I didn't know that. I hadn't heard that. I hadn't heard that.
That he's done.
I didn't know that. I didn't know.
You think he's done. And so you are ready to move on from
I do.
Cam Newton in New England. So I think
think
both of us are guilty of the same thing.
I think he's a backup. I think he's a backup quarterback for a backup quarterback for a good team. For a good team.